Well, hello, folks. I'm right here outside the front of the Children's Museum, coming to you from my traveling dead birch tree right here. Next up, we've got a puppet builder and teaching artist by the name of Homeslice Puppetry. The artist's name is Eric Weiss, and you may have seen some of his work today. Heck, you might be even seeing some of his work right now. Anyway, he's going to show you a little bit about how he makes puppets and some of his artwork, so stay tuned and enjoy. Well, hello, everyone. I hope that you are having a delightful time at today's Maker Fair. I am so delighted that you have me here with you as well today. My name is Eric Weiss. I am a puppet builder, and the name of my company is Homeslice Puppetry. I am a puppet builder by trade, but I'm also a teaching artist, which means in a normal environment, I would travel around to different schools, camps, art studios, and maker spaces to teach classes to both kids and adults on how to make puppets and hopefully inspire them to make some puppets and keep the art alive and growing. I am a member of the Connecticut Guild of Puppetry. I am founding a Western Massachusetts Puppetry Guild, and I am a member of the Puppeteers of America as well. I usually, like I said, travel around to places to teach my classes, but that's not going to happen much for a while. So right now I'm focusing on doing more and more virtual classes. I don't have a lot on my website yet, but there will be more as I add them coming up for the fall, hopefully very soon. So, I make all kinds of puppets, like I said. I do as easy as like sock puppets or finger puppets, and I do rod puppets and shadow puppets, but my favorite kinds of puppets to work on are foam puppets, and so that's what I'm going to show you a little bit today. So there are two main kinds of foam puppets that are made, that I make specifically, and one is called a patterned foam puppet. And for a patterned foam puppet, you take a flat piece of foam, and you either start with an existing pattern, or you create your own by making a sculpture and patterning it. And then you cut the pattern out and glue it together. So here's an example of what will become a head of one of my patterned foam puppets. So you see it starts out as a flat sheet. This is one kind of foam you can use for it, and it is called Upholstery Foam. Sometimes it's also just called craft foam, but that's deceiving because there are several different kinds of foams that are called craft foam. This is an open cell foam, but it's very soft and is used most commonly for the topping of a bed or the couch cushions in your house. Don't be confused with memory foam. Memory foam, when you press down on it, it holds its shape and then slowly bounces back. This one will instantly bounce back, unless it's got a crease in it because it's been pressed that way for a while, and then it might take a little while to bounce back. So this is one kind of foam you use for it. Another kind of foam that you use for it is something called reticulated foam. This is another open cell foam. As I hold it close to the camera, you can see the cells right there. This is such a big cell that the biggest brand name of this is called Dry Fast, because it is also, this one is used for outdoor furniture. When it gets wet, the water goes right through it and it dries very quickly, hence the name Dry Fast foam. It is also used for filters in aquariums and filters on air conditioners. Those are probably the most common uses for it. Besides the outdoor furniture. This one is much coarser. It's rough to put your hand against, and so you need to, when you make a puppet using this, use a liner so that you don't get like a rug burn kind of on your skin. Another foam we use, but not for the pattern part, is something called L200 or EVA foam. It's got a bunch of different names. I think its technical name is L200 foam. But then there's also an L300 and an L400, and that tends to tell you the density of the foam you're working with. These big sheets of it are most commonly used for really big puppets, like if you were making a dinosaur puppet that was several feet tall. that is the kind of foam that you would use for something like that. If you're making a big hand puppet, I would stick to the reticulated foam, and if I'm making a really small one, I would stick to the upholstery foam. Right there, it's the cheapest and softest. So the foam all depends on what you're using it for. This, like I said, is going to be a head of a puppet. Now, this is a pattern that I didn't make. I had. But this will make a head. So if you can imagine the top going together like that, becomes a skull, and that kind of becomes a forehead, and this makes actually a half a head, I should say. So one side of the head right there, and the mouth is in there. It's a little difficult to see like that, but when you glue it all together and you took two sides of the head together, you get a head from that pattern that looks exactly like this. Now, really the whole trick to this, though, and the most important part of that, is the mouth plate. And the mouth plate can take a lot of work to make. Kids in my classes often are surprised by how long it might take an entire day's worth of work, just to make the mouth plate like that. But that's what it tends to look like, something like that. And then the foam gets glued right to this so that it takes that shape. And you control the entire movement of the head through the mouth of the puppet. When it's all together, it might look like something like this. This is one of my newest creations right here, a lion. He's using that L200 or EVA foam for his tongue, his teeth. I have EVA foam eyes made out of round balls right there as well. He also has a fleece covering, and I often use a new kind of fleece called Nyla Fleece right now. Back in the day, the Muppets were often made out of a fleece called Antron Fleece, but that company went out of business and hasn't been around for quite a while. This is another one of my new ones. And so Nyla Fleece is a new replacement for it, and they sell it through a company called Puppet Pelts. It's the best way to get your Nyla Fleece. And it comes in all kinds of colors as well. So right here is a tiger puppet. This one was made for my new series that should be coming out one of these days. I'm not sure if it's going to be on YouTube or what, but I'm doing some work with the Cub Scouts, and so that's why I have a tiger cub and a lion puppet right there, and I'll be making puppets to represent all the different ranks of Cub Scouts that will be used to tell some stories soon. So hopefully that will be coming out soon. So that's one kind of puppet, foam puppet rather, the patterned foam puppet, and the other kind is a carved foam puppet. So with a carved foam puppet, you take either a block of foam or a ball of foam, and you literally carve it, you sculpt it. The difference between carving out of foam and carving out of something like clay is if you make a mistake, you can't slap the clay back on and start carving again. It's kind of permanent. You might have to start all over. So you carve very slow and little bits until you get where you want. I use a razor blade called a Persona blade. They're the best thing to carve foam with. And then after I've got the big carving done, I use a Dremel with a modified end to literally sand the foam down, which is a cool technique as well. So here is one of mine, a pair, that is carved out of basically a very big Nerf ball, and you can see if you look at the underside some of the foam sticking out right there where you put your hand in. But he was carved out of a ball, carve the mouth out, and then you scoop out the foam from the inside. The plate that you use to control it is very similar to the other plates that I showed a few minutes ago, and right there is my pair. Now, I didn't use the pair in my videos earlier because, as you notice, he's green, and he doesn't show up well on my green screen. It kind of looks like two eyes and a ghost of a pair there instead. This one is covered, not using fleece. This is a newer technique using silicone to cover it and create a skin for it. And it's a very, very cool technique that I use on a lot of my newer puppets as well. Another kind of carved foam is a mechanism puppet, and I'm going to show you this one right here. This is my Muffin Puppet. Hi, how you doing? And this is a carved foam puppet as well, but it has a mechanism inside. This one, the foam can be dyed a certain color. You can use like RIT dye to dye your foam a color. But this one I didn't. I used the raw foam, and it gets yellow on its own like that. The more it's exposed to air and exposed to light, the more quickly it will turn color like that. And if it gets exposed to it too much, the foam actually starts to break down eventually and fall apart. And when it really falls apart, in the industry it's called toast. This one did have a little paint on the outside. It's a special paint that you use to paint foam. And that little paint gave it that toasted look. You can see the little brown hues here and there. And that was to give it the look as if it's been in an oven. The mechanism that's inside that works that puppet is just like this. So right here is how the mouth will move when you pull down on the string. And it pulls against the spring in the back. And I got one more example of that right here to show. Here is one using that mechanism to make an apple. And it's using the silicone to create the skin of the apple right there. Well, I hope you have enjoyed my presentation today and learned a little bit about puppetry. And maybe you'll come join one of my classes in the future to learn how to make some of these puppets or some of my other puppets. I'm going to hopefully have all kinds of classes up and available in the future. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of the Maker Faire. And thank you for taking the time to join me today. Bye-bye, everyone.
My name is Monica Massapelli from the state of New Hampshire Treasury. The Unique College Investment Plan is New Hampshire's tax advantage 539 college savings plan open to all U.S. residents and is a proud supporter of the Children's Museum of New Hampshire and sponsor of this year's virtual Maker Fest event. The New Hampshire Maker and Food Fest offers activities and experiments for families with children that want to explore and learn. The Unique College Investment Plan is encouraged by the creativity and curiosity of this event that helps children discover and pursue their future dreams. We are proud to put those dreams into motion as families save for their children's education with the Unique 529 plan.